Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Spartan Scoop. My name is Krista Koch, and I'll be your host for this one. This episode is part of our Career Journey series, where we visit with members of the AU community to learn about the often winding paths that their careers have taken. For today's conversation, I'm going to be joined by Kendra Trudo, Senior Director of University Advising. We'll talk a little bit about her current role and how she ended up there and where it all started way back when she was in college herself. Join us for this conversation to learn more about how careers often unfold in unexpected ways. Here's my conversation with Kendra. All right, so thank you for joining me again. Why don't we start off with introductions? Why don't you say a little bit about who you are and what you do here at AU?
My name is Kendra Trudo. I am the Senior Director of University Advising. Basically, I oversee all advising on campus. So, regardless of your modality, undergrad, graduate, I oversee that office.
All right, so that is
It's a
helping
lot.
people figure out what classes they need, making sure they're on track for graduation, all
Yeah.
that kind
So,
of
I work
thing.
with all the advisors that work with the students, yes.
Okay, awesome. How long have you been at AU?
Oh, no. Since 2013.
So,
So,
long time.
yeah, it's a long time. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But then I feel like it's almost even longer, right? Because I went to school here.
Right,
So my undergrad is
right.
here. Yeah.
So you did your undergrad here as well. So when you were here as an undergrad, was this what you wanted to do? Did you even know this was a job?
No, I don't. I think centralized advising became a thing in 2007. Now I feel like I'm really going to show my age here a little bit. Um, but I started in 2005. And so I was a marketing major with a minor in computer science because
Okay.
in high school I loved like doing the school website, all that fun stuff. And I was like, I want to do that when I grow up because I just loved it so much. Then I took a business class spring semester of my freshman year and I thought I was going to fall asleep and I was
Oh
like, I
no.
can't do this. And so then I was playing soccer here, which is why we have this lovely jersey right here. I played soccer here and so I just knew I always liked athletics. And so there was a major called fitness and health promotion. And I took a class in it and I was like, I love this. So that's what I did in college was I was fitness and health promotion. And then my senior year, I did an internship at Loyola University where I worked with college athletes. And that's kind of where I fell in love with it.
Yeah. So
So
what was the goal at the time then with that major and that internship? What
was to
was
work
your
with college athletes. I loved working with that population. So at that time, I had my major required 3 internships. I had to do a 75, 150, and then 600. So like my 75, I did it at a normal like just gym, right? So I got to know that population. Then my 150, I actually did it at Del Nor, so I learned to work with that population. And I was like, I think I love college athletes. Like, I like me, so
Yeah, right,
and my
right.
teammates. And so then I did at Loyola. And that's when I kind of fell in love with the 18, 19, 20-year-old, like working with those students that I kind of felt like I understood where like their path, right? So I
Yeah.
kind of enjoyed that piece of it.
Okay. Yeah. So that you knew you wanted to work in a college setting somehow.
Yes. And then
Um,
so then I went on to grad school in exercise science, worked with college athletes again, loved it. But then, so at that time, so he's my husband now, he was doing the exact same thing. And, when you're kind of thinking down the road, how do we both do this? And so that's when I kind of made the pivot and was like, how do I still stay in working with college students, but maybe on the other side of it?
yeah.
And so then that's how I kind of started in the registrar's office and then made my way up to advising.
Okay. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about that pivot. So
Mm-hmm.
how did you how did you turn your college athlete experience and your exercise science working with athletes, how did you spin that into a registrar's office job? Because that's very different, right?
Right. I think it's hard. Like I don't want to make it seem like I spun it and everything was great. Because, working with athletics, like you're all over the
Hmm.
times, you're
Hmm.
typically working early mornings, late evenings. This one was kind of just that normal 8 to 5 job. So I think that was a little bit harder, but I was kind of craving structure.
Sure.
And so I think when you are an athlete, you do like structure. And so I think that's why I was able to pivot kind of a little bit because I just wanted to learn something else. Then I just really loved like, I don't know, just being in college yourself, seeing all the different pieces that
Yeah.
come together for each individual student was kind of fascinating. So it really was more of like not even like what my career path of like exercise science. It was more of just like being a college student,
Sure.
like just understanding that piece of it, which is what kind of drew me to like wanting to learn more in the job.
Yeah. So the move to the registrar's office, like you said, much more structure, kind of a normal 8 to 5
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing, but much more on the administrative
Mm-hmm.
side of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a whole new kind of world to wrap your head around. How did you end up going from that to advising then?
Right. So I was in the registrar's office for a few years, and I learned a lot down there and I loved it, but then I just was like, I want to work with students, right?
Right.
And so then an advising opportunity came up and I was like, that's where I think I want to work with students and grow them. And that's where I think there is a tie between with what I went to school for and advising, because I'm able to talk with them, work with them, right? And figure out what they're trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I was doing in the weight room, right? I was like, "Oh, tell me what your goals are. Like what are we trying to do here? Are we trying to get stronger, faster? Are we trying to increase our bench, squat, all that fun stuff?" That was what I was doing in advising. Tell me what you're trying to do here. What's your goal? Are we trying to get a 4.0 this semester? Are we
Right.
trying to go on to like some grad program? So that's where it kind of was like, I'm kind of doing the same thing, but just talking about different stuff.
So it's like a weight room for your mind. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I see
Okay.
what you're doing there.
So it's interesting. So your career moves. What I'm hearing you say is that a lot of your changes were made with the thought in mind of kind of how you want your life to look, right? You
Mm-hmm.
said so. You moving from athletics to the registrar's office is because you wanted structure and
Mm-hmm.
because you and your husband
Mm-hmm.
needed to figure out how to work at the same kind of field.
Right.
And then the move to advising is because you wanted more of a student piece. So something that we hear a lot from students is that they want to use their degree in a
Mm-hmm.
job, right? And you said something that was interesting about how advising is very similar to kind of what you studied with
Mm-hmm.
helping athletes in the weight room. So if somebody asks you right now, are you using your degree, right? You have these very fitness oriented degrees, and now you have this job where you're managing advisors.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to them?
How do I answer that? I think I am to some degree. I think I'm using my education.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
that's a different way to put it, like I'm not
sure.
using fitness and health, but I'm using what I learned in school, how to work with colleagues, how to work with students, how to communicate with professors. Like that's what I do now, right?
Right,
Like,
right.
and how to manage my time. So the education piece, absolutely, but necessarily the degree, probably not, but kind of.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense if you think about your education in terms of the skill set that it gives
Mm-hmm.
you and less about sort of what the words are
Mm-hmm.
on your diploma, right?
Right.
And you've used that skill set kind of throughout,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's not necessarily exactly what you originally set out to do.
Right.
So then how did you go from being an advisor to now kind of running the whole show?
I think I had really awesome people above me that prepped me for it. I'm super grateful for the leadership that I've had above me and the management style that they have
Hmm.
kind of given me, because I think I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing without their support. So I'm so, so grateful for the leadership that I've been under,
Yeah.
because I think that they've helped mold me and made me feel so comfortable and wanting to do other initiatives, other steps, and really kind of try new things, because I know that they fully support me in that kind of new thing that I'm trying potentially, with this area.
Right.
And so I think that's how I got here, is from awesome people.
Okay, and that's super important,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, we talk about that kind of mentorship piece a lot and how finding somebody that supports you is really key to
Hmm.
success, right? Um, you don't have to name names, but would you say that you've had throughout your career have you had influence from like a specific person or from people that have helped you kind of grow and expand?
Absolutely. I mean, I think when you are uh, I think sometimes when you're just driven in athletics, you just naturally have
Sure.
somebody
Yeah.
as like a coach.
Yeah, the coach is kind of installed there, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I think that early on, like I had really great mentors. I had some kind of hardships happen to me when I was younger. My dad passed away when I was in high school,
Yeah.
and I have a mother who speaks broken English. She's Korean, and so it was just hard to kind of navigate. So I had to really lean heavily on other people to kind of guide me and kind of tell me what, like, give me suggestions, right? On
Yeah.
what to do.
Yeah.
Everyone was really good about like, you should do this. Everyone was like, let's talk through your options, which
Right.
I absolutely loved because that's how I do things in life now. Like, I'm never like, well, what do you like? I'm always like, what do you want to do? Like,
Yeah.
let's talk through like the maybe 200 options I might give you and might overwhelm you, but I just want people to know like what their options are. No, I absolutely had really great mentors and still continue to have people that those are the people that kind of get you to where you are,
Right.
because it's not, I think what I really want people to know is it's not like it's always been like this,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's a lot of this because yes, you're like, your career, yes, it's super important, but there's a lot also going on in your personal life. And sometimes those don't always like align with one
Right.
another. And so sometimes like your personal life might be going really well, but your career might not be. And then, but it's awesome when when it is lined up. So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, that sounds good. That is very much in line with how what I've seen is that it's rare for people to succeed completely on their own, right? It's kind of it's a team effort, if you will, right? And exactly what you're saying with careers not being linear and like always up. Um, that those twists and turns are often how you end up. I mean, how you ended up here, right? It's from those twists and turns. So if you could go back to your college self way back in the day and give her some advice now that you have learned everything that
right.
you've learned about life, what would you say?
I would tell my younger self to get more involved. Like, now that I work on a college campus and I think about all the resources, all the things that are available, I was just going to class and just going to practice. I
Sure.
wasn't really trying to do anything else. And I just think about all the other opportunities, other like openings that could have happened, other friendships I could have made if I would have just gone out a little bit further. So that's what I would tell 18-year-old
Yeah.
Kendra. It's like, hey, like there's going to be other opportunities. Just do them. It's
Just do
okay.
them.
Just like go. Don't
Yeah.
be scared. Like join that organization. Go. Like if that study group wants you to go, go. Like,
Right.
but
Right.
I just was like, no, I was just kind of content with a little bubble that I had, which was a great bubble, but I just, now that I'm a little bit older, I just think about, wow, I could have really expanded that bubble a little bit more and created other bubbles, right?
Right.
And that it's okay.
Yeah.
That you don't just have to stay in that one small one.
Yeah. That's so important, right? I think college is such a huge time to try things and meet people. And if you're just going to class and going home, or even if you're just in your bubble of being an athlete, which takes up so much of your time, you're missing out on other things, right? So that's great advice. I love that advice. Has your idea of success changed over time? And if so, how?
I think success is determined different for everyone. I think that you choose how you feel about success.
Sure.
My personal opinion. I think that we live in a society where you might like feel success a certain way, and I can't compare myself to that success. So I just think that you get to choose how you want success to look for your own life. And
Yeah.
so I think that it's really hard, like with social media, because people are like almost flaunting like what they feel like might be
Yeah.
their
You only see the good
success.
things, right?
Right.
Right.
And so someone might like feel like, "Oh my gosh, I'm not successful because that person's really successful. They're making this much money. They're like they've got this beautiful house, like all this stuff." And that shouldn't determine if I'm successful or not. So I think that I'm a big proponent on like you get to determine what your success looks like and what your happiness looks like. So,
Yeah, I think that's a very healthy outlook, right? Yeah, the success is going to look different for everyone,
right.
and that might evolve over time. And yeah, okay, all right. So thinking back kind of to the past as well, is there something that you have learned about careers and how they work that you wish you had learned sooner?
I I wish I would have learned to really communicate with whoever your manager is on like expectations.
Mm.
And um I don't know how to word this. It's not even expectations, but like how to communicate with one another, right?
Right.
I think that early on you just grind.
Yep.
If that's the word, you just kind of push through. But I just think that there's a way to communicate like with what your needs are and vice versa,
Yeah.
right? And so like kind of something that I do now in my management style is kind of like, okay, like, can you tell me what's working, what's not working? What do you need from me? And my big thing is what you might need from me is like this today. But maybe 3 months from now, it might pivot and change. And I
Right.
need to know that that has changed because I'm not a mind reader.
Right.
So if you're needing something different, because maybe you told me like, oh, I don't need praise. Like when I do something really good, like I'm okay. But then 3 months go by, you're like, it would be nice if she like kind of gave me some praise like every
Yeah.
once in a while. But like you can be mad at me about it because you told me you didn't need it. So if that changes, you have to communicate that with me. And I feel like I wish I would have learned that like early on, that it's just a conversation. You're not trying to be combative or like make something complicated. You're just trying to communicate with your boss at the time, right? Like what you're needing and what do they need from you. And having those more frequently.
Yeah.
Like not just at a yearly time or when it's like something bad has happened. Like it's just should be a very fluid conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. That communication really is super, super
Mm-hmm.
important. Okay, that's a great lesson to learn. That's one that I wish I would have learned way earlier too,
Yeah.
All right. So then what is something that, so after somebody has watched this whole video or listened to this whole episode, what is something that you wish or that you would like people to take away from this conversation?
I just hope that I'm so cool. And come see me if you need anything. But no, really, on a serious note, I think that I want them to know that we hear them, right? Like we hear like
Yeah.
and we recognize like what's going on and just to come like we're normal people and to not be
Right.
scared of us and just to come ask us questions and that we're truly here to help. I think sometimes we can kind of seem scary, like kind of behind this like office door, but that's why I want them to see us kind of having these conversations, being in a very casual environment, because that's, I think, how mentorships, that's how those types of things build, and knowing that they can just have conversation with us.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. In talking to so many people at AU, I hear that over and over, right? That people work here because they want to help people and they want to have those relationships. So that's great. That's a good takeaway.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's all of it.
Okay.
That is 23 minutes of content that I have to cut down into like 15. So
Only use the good stuff then.
obviously, yeah. All right, thank you
All
again
right,
for
thanks
joining
for having me.
All right, cool.
Cool.